welcome to the coughing and spluttering man flu edition, the 30th of the season of a pod full of saints. I should be saying very little tonight, which should be a mercy to the other two. I'm David Tavener, and the one there looking extremely pleased is Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Yes, that is great news. I can't believe you didn't tell us before, but hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
And Lee Wood, I think probably going to have plenty to say about last Saturday's game. Evening, Lee.
Good evening, David. The pod's got off to a great positive start. Let's keep that going.
Let's keep these germs flying there everywhere we can. Right, the three of us had our winter break last weekend. We went down to the English Riviera to Torquay United's Plainmoor ground. I tell you, it hasn't half changed since we first went there in 1980. It's a lovely ground now. It really is a lovely ground. Just a shame I haven't got a lovely team to go with it. I've been watching City a few years now. I would put this performance up with best, probably the best I've ever seen. It was a joy to watch from start to finish. Now, you two are freshers. What did you think of it?
I've got to say, that's a marvellous billing, mate, isn't it? Goodness me. It's one for the ages. It was a performance for the ages. It genuinely was. I think once you rake over the bones of the game, the Torquay season, the bottom has just fallen out of it entirely. But I think the way in which we played, the manner in which we played it, the team that we were facing, it was an away game. You know, these weren't mugs. These were a full-time team. It was a game for the ages. I've seen us beat teams 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 in the past. But to be that comprehensive, I don't think, listen, it could have been 8, couldn't it? We hit the bar 3 times or whatever it was. The one thing I loved about it is that we've obviously grown as a club, as a team. The one-touch, two-touch stuff was absolutely sublime. We weren't inviting pressure on ourselves. We were getting the ball, passing it off. The movement was absolutely fantastic. The players were outstanding. They really sort of have grown. And I think, Jake, we were sitting there, mate, just absolutely just in disbelief about the manner in which we went about our business on Saturday.
I think it's fair to say that we stared at each other a couple of times, almost gobsmacked, didn't we, throughout the game? We couldn't believe what was going on. It was brilliant. And a couple of words that do come to mind off the back of Lee's comments there too, specifically, are fearlessness and confidence that the players had going down there on Saturday. You know, it's not an easy trick. Torquay, despite their not great season, Plainmoor's actually been a happy hunting ground for them mostly this season. They've not had a lot of defeats there, up against a full-time team and against a full-time team we thought that might dig in a little bit with the atmosphere turning against them, etc. But we didn't give them a chance, did we? Straight from the off, the game plan. And I think, you know, credit goes to John Meakes and the management team here. The game plan was absolutely perfect, wasn't it? Exploit our pace, get forward constantly, use the ball in the opposition half and the opposition area as much as we could. And it was almost the perfect away display and away performance. And you have to say, overall, away, whole weekend, whole Saturday, just absolutely perfect.
You've probably seen the highlights, which I don't think scratch the surface. They don't do justice to the performance at all. And the commentary certainly didn't, but the commentary was coming from Clarence Park. They couldn't see the whole pitch, and you could tell by the commentary it doesn't do it justice. But there is a video of the whole game knocking around, and I'd like to see the club make it available for people to buy, because you're not going to get a better City performance than that. There's things that should have been on there. Zane Banton in the centre circle. He beat 3 people because the goal chance didn't come from it. It didn't get onto the highlights. And Zane, he was untouchable throughout. And then there's one which is on there where George Hoddle seemingly leads a counter-attack. No, it started right down by the corner flag. Dan Barry, and I think it was Clarkey, who was absolutely sublime. They played it around, then built it, and then off went George on a long run. It didn't result in a goal. But, it was possibly the move of many fine moves of a game. And there were moments like that everywhere you looked, wasn't it? All through the team. You had Jack James down the right. He was on fire. Partington, Joe Partington at back. Brilliant. Go all the way through the team. Nobody had a bad game.
Just picking up on a word that Jake's mentioned there, confidence. I think MJ was just cherry-picking everything out of the air. And then from that, you could see the demoralisation of the Torquay wingers because they know they can't get us by pumping balls into the box now. Fine. Partington and Clark have built up this relationship over the course of a month or two, really established now. Calm, collected, get ball, passing it off. We moved the ball so quickly, but forward, and it really did cause them problems. Gio Rasulo, he was the butt of a few disgruntled chants and comments prior to Christmas. He's really picked himself up now. He's becoming more and more established. He tore their fullback a new one, and it was just a delight to watch, really. As you say, Tabs, Banton, Hoddle, Jeffers, his second goal, our third, as clinical. He took it early, didn't give the keeper time to set. Just intelligent football all around the park. And I don't think, as you say, I've seen anything like that in my time of watching City for the entire duration of a game. But I think it's really important, though, for the fans to understand is that it has been coming. We've seen glimpses of this, haven't we? We just matter of sort of putting the square pegs into the square holes to get the end game. It is a fascinating game to watch, and I'm with you, Tabs. I hope they do release it for the wider audience, because I'll tell you what, if you want people to go to games watching this great sort of team, that's going to be the game to do it.
It's funny, earlier in the season on here, and also in my weekly notes, said about we don't know how good this side is because David Noble, he kept the shackles on. He didn't want to lose games. So we had a lot of playing football in our own half. Now, you picked up Novelli, we're doing it in their half, and you saw it again last night. We'll come on to the Hampton game in a minute. But we're getting forward quicker. We're getting forward in numbers. We're more direct when we have to be. And that side is now fulfilling its potential.
There you go,
Jake.
I think you're spot on, to be honest, Dave, and it's great to see us when we play out there as well. It's not, it's not disciplined to, in terms of the players aren't enjoying themselves. They are loving out there. You can tell it in the way that they play the football and the way they celebrate the goals, the way they celebrate at the end of the game at the minute. It does feel like, Dave, I think the shackles are off. That is almost a perfect phrase. There is that let's just go for it, lads. Let's see what happens. Let's enjoy ourselves, and we also have to say, though, defensively, we're not exactly lax at the back. We're probably better at the back in the last few weeks than we have been all season. So it's a real mix, and I think it just shows the hard work we're putting on the training pitch. And if there was all the songs about Gary Johnson on Saturday, all the attention on Gary Johnson on Saturday from both sets of fans, it has to be said. There was quite a few chants from the Saints fans, quite a few funny ones. If you compare Gary Johnson to John Meakes and Harry Wheeler, who would you tell is the management team with experience in the Football League, full-time outfit, got those lads on the training pitch every week? You couldn't. And I thought it just came down to the basics of having a plan, being prepared and ready, and giving the lads the confidence and support behind them, saying if something goes wrong, fair enough, let's just do it again, see what happens.
It's about a defensive partnership, how good we looked at the back. We had 3 big games we've had now in the last couple of weeks, and only conceded 1 goal. It's terrific. And Nathan Carlisle, I thought he had probably one of his best games for us against Yeovil. And then there's no place for him in the side at Torquay. Clark, he comes back in quite rightly, and it was masterful. He seemed to pick up a sort of twinge or something, so we're told, which is why he didn't make the starting 11 at Hampton, but soon came on. Gio Rasulo, you mentioned there, Lee dropped last week, seems to have done him a world of good, comes back in. We know what he can do, and Saturday was the closest he's come to fulfilling that potential.
Agree. He took his goal fantastically well. We've been privy to the WhatsApp chat from our little group, Jake and I. We're going to put a question to you now, Taz. There's been a bit of sort of deliberation going around. Are we a better team this season than we were last? And there was a bit of sort of backwards and forwards. We had better fullbacks last year, but we looked a more unified collective this time around. Unfulfilled potential. Devontae, Tafari, Moore, your mate from Cambridge, and McConnell. I don't know what you sort of think about the fact is that comparison between this season and last.
Well, we won't be getting Glenn again this season. Tragically, he's got an injury that's put him out for the rest of the season, but I believe he's making a good recovery from that injury. Well, last season, much of it again, first of all under Ian and then under Nobby, we were with the shackles on again. We did play this very defensive game, and we only opened up occasionally. At the moment, if we keep playing as we are now, you've got to say it's a better footballing side than it was then. But again, was the other side allowed to express itself? I don't think it was. And when you had Devontae Stanley and Tafari Moore down the flanks, use them more, get as much as you can out of them. They terrified defences. And so maybe we did well with them. We could have maybe done even better. If we keep playing as a football we are now, we are going to continue rising. There's no two ways about it. We're going to lose occasionally, and it'd be interesting to see then how John Meakes and Harry Wheeler react. But we just hope they don't think, oh, we've got to rein it in a bit now. Keep going the way we are. That's the way to get results.
Good times.
Well, should we run through the goals? The first goal from Shaun, he got a lucky rebound after the keeper, after his first shot was saved off keeper's legs, kept his head beautifully, just stroked it in there. The second one, was that the best one of the lot? The finish by Rasulo? Nice little interchange on the edge of the box, got in there, shot across the keeper.
They were all great, weren't they? I mean, for me, it was an absolutely fantastic goal. I think the movement of everyone involved in the goal was fantastic. For me, the pick of the bunch was the third one. I think the fact is that little ball in behind the back line, who were playing exceptionally high, and they didn't seem to learn from their mistakes in Torquay. Shaun threw it on goal. It's what he does. Literally took it early, didn't get any one time to sort of settle themselves. Right in the bottom corner. For me, that one was the pick of the bunch.
Both of Shaun's goals, Jake, very close to being offside, but he got the line dead right. And I think you mentioned earlier about an early finish on that second one, thinking, why is he taking it so early? But it bamboozled the keeper. He didn't expect it.
Perfect, wasn't it? And that Shaun Jeffers bloke, he's come out of nowhere since December. I don't know where he was before then. And he's been absolute class, hasn't he? And his stats, what is it? 15 or so goals, Dave, isn't it? In about, how many games is it?
About 3, I think. It's incredible.
It's unbelievable, and it's great to see. Again, I think there was some chat earlier about this actually, that he makes the players around him look confident as well when he is there playing like that, and players feed off him in many ways. And also, what was noticeable, I thought positionally and running wise in the last few games, he's done a lot of that. Not necessarily getting a lot of the attention from Saints supporters, but I thought against Torquay on Saturday, you saw the defence having to deal with him a lot, and that opened up acres of space for everyone else. But as I say, he was also able to latch on to those sort of half chances and half runs that he could make and capitalise on it. And he was unlucky not really to get a hat-trick, was he, with that one that crashed off the bar as well.
Yeah, and the header was kicked off the line as well. And
yeah,
he could certainly have had a hat-trick. What a place to do it. Would have been great. And then the fourth goal, Rasulo again. But the thing about that one, we got numbers in the box, not like it has been. We've got numbers in there now. So if a first person has a shot blocked, there's somebody there who can stick it in. And it's just a change of philosophy has brought a change of results.
I think it's fair to say that we played 2 full-time teams, didn't we, in 7 days? And I have to say, against both of those teams, in the last 10, 15 minutes, both of them looked like the tired team, didn't they? They both looked like the team that arguably weren't the full-time team. And I think that's probably because in both games, we made them run around so much because we were positively playing constantly. They had to do a lot of tracking of us. And again, like you said earlier, Dave, we weren't afraid to get forward in the last 10 minutes of either game to try and get some more goals, which is absolutely brilliant. And so different to some of the football we've been dished up over, not just, this year, over so many years at Clarence Park.
You talk about tracking, you watch the highlights, and Torquay just didn't do it. We went round them, and we could see one, because we were up in the gods, weren't we, in the stands. We had a great view of the whole pitch. You could see the way it was going. And Torquay players just didn't track back. We did our lovely little moves, and they made it easy for us. That's not to take away, but our movement, which was quite superb. Last 10 minutes, well, even longer than that, Torquay's heads had gone down. To think that they are professional, as you said, full time, you wouldn't believe it. They got 2 players out with suspension. That's self-inflicted. No sympathy for that. A manager was in the director's box, suspended as well. And they had at least 4 players out with injury, maybe more. But they should be able to cope with those to a degree. You at least look like a professional full-time side. They didn't. They didn't at all. They didn't have the energy. They didn't look like they were fighting for the manager, Gary Johnson. And as we all know, he took one a heck of a lot of stick on Saturday from both sets of supporters. And after the game in front of the office, went round to the office, and there must have been 60-odd supporters there with banners up shouting Johnson out. And he survived. And another defeat last night. 1 win in 9 games. You wonder how much time he has got left down there.
We bumped into some Torquay fans on the riverfront there on our way back to the train, and they weren't happy at all, as you can imagine. You know, they were losing their mind. The fact is, I think their main gripe is the fact he lives in Bristol. He only travels down to the club twice a week at best. He's got very limited time with the players at hand. And, you know, is he in it for the paycheck, or because he can't be in it? He can't be enjoying himself there. I think he's just sort of digging his heels in. But getting back to the game, Tavs, I think what was nice, mate, is that I managed to sort of catch your eye. I think it's the middle of the second half, and I just gave you a thumbs up. That, you know, this is fantastic stuff. And normally you give me like a middle finger back or whatever, but this time, mate, it was a thumbs up, and it was really good to see you enjoying your football, because it's this sort of result and this sort of performance doesn't come along too often. Hopefully there's more of it to come. But I think you are absolutely spot on. And Jake's alluded to there, this could be just the beginning. If we can keep our players fit, if we can keep them at the club, if Meakes can stay around as well, because I think he's been instrumental. You know, there was a lot of murmurings behind on the terraces that maybe he was the brains behind this transformation all along. Who knows? One thing I will say is that someone approached me at the game on Saturday. I've never met them before in my entire life. Suggested a very, and I'm not being coy, but I want to sort of do a bit more digging around this before I stop sort of blurting out the random rubbish that I do. A bit more behind the whole Jeffers Noble thing going on. So I'm going to sort of look into that and sort of try and see if there's any more meat on those bones. But it was really nice to see you sort of smiling, Taz, because you've watched the dross over the years, mate, as have we all. And the fans that did go to Torquay were rewarded for their endeavours with a fantastic performance and a great day for the club.
The funny thing is, Lee, you're not going to get games like this too often, which is why you remember them and you love them. All we're doing now is playing the football we've asked for, to play football in the opposition half, to let them worry about us, not us worry about them. So we're now playing the way supporters want. And we've always known supporters should pick the team and the tactics. But, you know, for some reason, the clubs don't go down that road.
Oh, my God.
It's Torquay now getting a bit like Basil 40, running 40 towers down in Torquay. Is it getting like that at the moment?
Oh, my God.
Cultural reference there. Jake's got no idea what's going on.
I know. Before we move on, we better mention we made 2 loan signings as well, didn't we, before this game? Both from Luton Town. Aidan Francis Clark, who I think it's fair to say we sort of killed that deal off, didn't we? We wrote it off. So I think we sort of jinxed that into existence. And I have to say, I think it's an absolutely brilliant signing at this stage in the season, at a time when we haven't actually got a proper manager or a full-time manager, and when there's a lot of concerns around the club in terms of who's going to take over. And also Jake Berger. Apparently it's not Berger, it's Berger, a midfielder from Luton, who I thought actually looked quite bright when he came on in that final 15 minutes as well. So we talked about it last week, didn't we? We sort of will the club make loan signings at the minute, and we thought maybe not, but I think it's good to see us strengthening at a time when we're getting players back from injuries, etc., and have a real chance to kick on.
It's definitely Berger as far as Knock is concerned, Jake. It says on his thing he's midfielder. Of course, we put him on the left up front, didn't we? And he looked perfectly at home up there. All right, shot hit the bar, maybe should have got in, but Your first touch, you're not going to moan about that too much. And he settled in quite well. It looks quite
Yeah.
promising. And no doubt when we get onto the Hampton game, we talk about the other loan signing as well. Right, anything else on Torquay? Are we happy with that now? Our
Happy-
699th game of scoring 4 times or more in a game, as of course you probably already know.
One thing I would like to say is that the Weatherspoons in Torquay, good Lord. You go in there, it just reeks of leprosy. It's people just literally decaying in the corner, drinking swill. It was horrendous. It stank. It was cheap, granted, but oh my, it was really weird. There were coach loads of Welsh rugby fans who've got the coach from Brecon to come to Torquay to watch the Wales game on TV. I mean, I don't know what that's about, but they had a great time. We had a great time, didn't we, Jake? Fun time had by all.
You could say that.
In Wales, when you go somewhere else to watch it.
Oh dear. I think we have to say well done to all the Saints fans that travelled as well on Saturday. Many by car, many by train. We enjoyed the train, didn't we, Lee? And the delays and the inevitable issues that we had, but we all travelled together. Absolutely brilliant. And 60 or 70 so Saints down there, a long old journey back for some on Sunday as well. Slightly worse for wear. Brilliant support from everyone.
Well, Sunday, Jake, I've been into London on train in the morning, coming back on it in the afternoon, and I saw you walking off in Small City Station. You'd only just got back then, so Christ, goodness knows what state you were in Saturday night. But those supporters, they were fantastic. The noise they made, 62 of them, Torquay said. The language was diabolical, but the chanting was funny, it was supportive, and it was great. It was a great atmosphere in our end of the ground. It would have been nice, actually, to be at the other end of the stadium, just to hear how loud our lot were, because it sounded quite impressive.
It was. And I believe there's actually a little article from a Torquay fan or someone in Torquay media gone up this afternoon about the game on Devon Live. And he does actually mention that we do actually quite impressive sound from such a small group of supporters. So we'll take that.
Yeah, they did well. And they also did quite well. A totally different stadium last night. We went down to Hampton and Richmond. They dropped a borough from their name last summer, but too late to get it registered with the FA, I believe. So it's just Hampton and Richmond now, which is third name change in the time that we've been playing them. They were 5th in the table. We were 6th. We knew it was going to be tough. 0-0, it sounds like a grind. There was a 0-0 somewhere else in the table division last night, Truro and Taunton, and it sounds like a true dire 0-0. This was a good game, Jake, wasn't it? It wasn't much goalmouth activity, not many saves, but it was fascinating contest all the way through, I thought.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the games this season, it's quite difficult sometimes to see the tactical approaches of two different teams and how they clash. But I thought it was really obvious last night. And as you say, it was actually quite an enjoyable game in a perverse kind of way, if you enjoy 0-0 draws, because both teams had very different approaches. But, Hampton were sat in for a lot of it, won't they? They were quite content with what they had. They hit us on a break a couple of times. And on the Saints, on the counterpoint, used the width brilliantly. And I'm really not sure, especially second half, we were absolutely banging at the door, and I really don't know how we just didn't quite manage to score. Probably the only problem is we didn't get enough shots away, to be honest. But yeah, quite an enjoyable game. And you have to say, on the back of Yeovil, Torquay, Hampton, a really tough run. You've lost your manager a day and a half before that first game of that run. You have to say 5 points. You have to be really happy. And as like you said, Dave, 2 clean sheets, 1 goal conceded, quite a few, 6 goals scored. That's absolutely brilliant.
You were worried about it being after the Lord Mayor's show that we'd go completely flat. Well, in terms of stadium, it's certainly the case, going from Plainmoor to the Beverley. Fascinating ground as it is, but it's is it good enough for this level? It's debatable. But the performance was very good. It is a great follow-up because the conditions were not good. Second half, the wind and the rain was behind our lot, which really helped. Brings me on to my only criticism of it last night, Jake. We had a few times around the edge of the box with the wind behind us. We could have got in a few more shots. The ones we did get, they blocked well, apart from one. Jack James forced a very good save out of keeper Adam somebody or other. And there was others we could have had. We didn't take the opportunity. And there was two complaints. Corners.
Oh.
we did lots of different routines on the corners, but we didn't do enough with the wind behind it. Curl it in under the bar, see if a keeper can cope with it. And I thought we should have worked them a bit harder from the set pieces.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Rarely, surprisingly, Dave, I think you might be correct for once in terms of both your points, actually. I thought it would have been nice to get more shots away because the conditions were difficult. I thought we saw it with Jack James's effort. The keeper was struggling because the conditions were so hard and how quickly the ball moved. And second of all, yeah, I agree with set pieces as well. That second half, especially, every blooming corner, go short and then mess about with it. That's fine. It can work. We've seen it work for us before this season. But have a bit of variety, get the ball in. And a couple of times that we did get the ball in, the keeper was struggling. He was flapping. He's not exactly the tallest. He just about tipped a couple away. So, that's the only complaint. But the overall style of the game, I think, was very much similar to Saturday, wasn't it? Control the ball, use the width, get forward. And I think, Dave, we sort of mentioned this last night, didn't we? We actually played around in their half most of the game, not in ours. We actually looked to get forward as much as we could. Just that final third didn't quite click in the end.
I thought in the first half, Hampton actually should have gone in ahead at half time. I thought they'd had a better of it, particularly in the latter stages. They hit the bar from that free kick. And did you get a good view of Michael Johnson incident when he brought down somebody or other? He only got a yellow card.
I'm not really sure how he got away with that. We'll have to wait for the highlights, but from my perspective, it looked like a red all day. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I've got my video of it, which isn't totally clear. I'm not 100% certain, but he caught him. But down he went. But players are running back. But at the time Jono's caught him, there isn't another City defender goal side of him. So he could have gone. Referees made the decision it's a foul. He didn't, just gave it a yellow, free kick outside the box. And we said, I don't know what the law is now for blooming bookings and fouls and keepers and goodness knows what. It's like the offside, it changes every 5 minutes. But we got away with that one. Well, what about the other end? Shaun Jeffers wrestled to the ground in many people's eyes, didn't get a penalty. What did you make of it?
I thought that was a decent chat, actually. It was right on the edge. It was just inside, but I thought that was possibly a penalty. But it's so hard to say because we've seen Shaun sometimes go down a little bit softly, maybe you could say. But then it looked like there was reasonable contact, I thought. And when that was not given, I thought that was almost a little bit felt like the ref trying to level things up, maybe realising he made a bit of a mistake. But it was hard to say from where we were.
I thought it was a penalty, actually. At first, I thought Shaun had done the first foul, but watching again my video about the defender's put his arm out, so of course Shaun's going to grab it, and that maybe led to what happened afterwards. Another incident later on, Shaun challenged for a high ball in the box. Keeper goes down, writhing as if he's been shot by a sniper, of course. Shaun gets booked. All the Hampton players went up. Now, we saw this with Hemel. Teams are out to get Shaun Jeffers. They know what a threat he is. And a referee stupidly booked him. It's a terrible decision. It was never a booking. And I thought, we're going to see a lot of this now. And referees got to wise up to it. Clubs, particularly with the run Shaun's on at the moment, other teams are going to do their utmost to get him taken out of the game.
Well, we saw it at Hemel, didn't we, Lee? I think we saw those smart tactics, and we're going to come up against those sort of players, those sort of games for the rest of the season because it does work sometimes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, was that me? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, it shows what a threat Shaun is. And that's all they have, that's all they have left to stop him. They can't stop him scoring. If it's not our own manager trying to sort of kibosh, his progression, it's going to be opposition defenders. So, but no, you're absolutely spot on. But he had a bit of that, didn't he? On Saturday against Torquay, Taz. They were like grappling him and pulling him, but I guess that's just the nature of being a forward. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's going to cause any defence in this league havoc, no problem.
Well, one of the roughest handlings he's had this season was Jake Warner, was it? Warner at Yeovil. Crikey, he didn't let him go. He was physically all over him all game. So Shaun gets used to it, but it seems like referees now are picking up on the forwards if they do a slight misdemeanour, not the defenders, which isn't good for the game. But anyway, there we go. Right, I disagree with you about their keeper, Jake. I thought he actually looked a decent keeper. I thought he was quite commanding. I didn't like his attitude. He's
talking
actually
of
with short thing, but I thought he looked a decent keeper.
talking of keepers, should we mention the other keeper they had in goal?
Well, again, my video, it's not conclusive. I don't know if the club's put the video up yet of it. I can see why the referee didn't give it as a penalty for handball.
Interesting. It'd be good to see. I mean, I think from the side, hopefully get a better view from the highlights because they're a bit higher up on that opposite side. I mean, there were massive appeals. I say it happened so quickly behind the goal. It was so difficult to see. I can understand why the ref didn't give it. That doesn't mean I didn't complain about it quite a bit after the game or during the game. But yeah, it's really tough one to call. But the thing that sort of give it to me was Mitch's sort of demonstrations immediately after the game. Even after the game, he was still going to the ref. It was right out here, ref. And I think Rasulo got booked, didn't he, straight away for his protestations. But if you compare it to Hampton's protestations again throughout the game, squaring up to the referee, they didn't get booked for that, but we won't mention that. We won't know until we see the highlights. But the Saints supporters behind the goal, it's fair to say, were very convinced.
Tabs.
Some supporters asked about that referee. We'd had him once before, Matthew Norton, for a Heart Senior Cup tie against Town when he didn't book anybody, but he was a bit book happy in that second half yesterday. Yes, Lee.
You've mentioned about 3 or 4 times now the fact that your footage isn't really conclusive. Are you pointing it towards the game, or have you just sort of got it in your pocket? I mean, what's going on?
I was just trying to catch the stars, but there weren't many around last night, cloud and whatnot. No, it's good. You got it in your hands. It's like that. You got the wind coming at you. You got the rain coming. You think, why the hell am I doing this anyway? Just trying to get one piece of clip to go on the podcast.
Very good.
Go.
Very good.
Now, all in all, satisfactory point for everybody.
Yeah, I think before the game, didn't we? I think most of us agreed we'd definitely take a point and compare it to when we were supposed to travel down there in what was it, November originally, October, November. I think we all feared it was going to be a right old bumping, didn't we, against us? So a really good point against them. And it's a sort of performance, sort of display that might not have been spectacular at times, but again, another clean sheet against a team that went, 17 games unbeaten until early January? It's not bad, really, is it?
We'll take it.
Yes, they beat True out the weekend, ended a run of 4 without a win. So they had a blip, like every side does. We may have one yet, unlikely because we're so good. And now they're trying to bounce back from their blip. Talking of teams having a blip, this coming Saturday at Clarence Park, we've got Taunton Town, who've not only got a blip, but haven't got any money to have a blip with. What are they now? About 11 without a win, 10 without a league win. Last 2 games have been thrilling 0-0 draws. Actually, they've drawn their last 4 games. Are we going to end that run of draws for them on Saturday?
Ooh. I mean, when you started that about teams with blips, I thought you were going to mention Wealdstone. But anyway, we move on quickly. I expect
fired. Oh, my days.
I expect Hampton last night, they defended really well, and I expect we'll see a very similar defensive performance from Taunton on Saturday. I think they'll really compact the middle. They'll try and sit in, I wouldn't be surprised, and try and repeat what Hampton did. They might not be able to, but I expect it's going to be quite difficult at times to break them down, potentially. But that's, Dave, you were there earlier in the season, weren't we, when we lost to them? Do you think it'll be slightly a bit different from them this time round, or?
It's funny, Taunton last season, particularly first half of the season, pretty much as you described, you expect them to be pretty good defensively. But at the moment, they got so many problems. I'd be very surprised if we can't break them down a few times. I really would. But we shall see. But I'm confident of victory. And also,
what's going on?
Well, what do we do with the team? Ryan Blackman's available again after a 2-match ban. Obviously, Nathan Carlisle's available. Joe Partington sounds like he probably should be fit from what John Meakes said after the game last night. Do we make changes?
Partington's an interesting one, isn't it? Because what Meakes said, you just wonder if they will risk him. He's not exactly a young man anymore, is he, Partington? Footballing wise, anyway. And you just wonder, is it worth risking him on Saturday when you've got a defence that did keep a clean sheet for the majority of the game once Clarkey came on last night against Hampton. Clark, Francis Clark and Bowery, or even Carlisle on the bench, they did pretty well on Tuesday night. And is it worth risking him? I don't know. It's a hard one to say. Otherwise, the rest of the team, I think Blackman struggles to get into this team based off the last couple of displays. I think straight onto the bench if he's available. But other than that, I don't really see many changes to the team myself.
You don't risk Partington. If he's fit, he plays. If he's not, you don't play him. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Dodo his game, isn't it? It's so easy. It's so easy. Right, let's have some predictions. I'll get mine out of the way. What did we have the other day? What was that? 4-0. That was our 105th 4-0 win. Let's go for the 106.
Oh my God. What's going on?
I'm going to go 3-0.
Come on, Jake, get off the fence. You can't have 2-1.
I'll complete the run and go 2-0.
Right, okay. Now we move on to matters off the pitch at Clarence Park. As was alluded to by one of you, we haven't got a proper manager. We haven't got a manager. We have an interim manager or two. If you go on the club website, though, you look at management team, we have an assistant manager, John Meakes, and his picture consists of the old sign, which is now falling to bits at Clarence Park. No picture of his face. No mention of Harry Wheeler at all. On the management team also is the head of physio. Well, actually, he quit along with quite a few others back in December. So, is it John Meakes' show now with Harry as his number 2, do we know? Or is it a joint partnership? Any idea?
Sounds as though one of them wants to get onto the website and update their information a little bit. I think it's the status quo, isn't it, for the minute? I think there's one thing, Nobby's departure, we need stability, and Meakes definitely brings that. And I think he's articulate, he's measured, he's considered. You can tell that in his post-match. And the celebrations after the Torquay game when he gave it the old Klopp fist bump.
Yeah.
He's loving it. He's not going to go anywhere without a fight. The very interesting Heart-Sad interview from our friend Neil Metcalf. Meakes, he's here. He's the one in the seat. So, and Tavs, as you say, mate, as long as we're playing the way that we are, there's no point in rocking the boat just yet, because the thing is, he could be the one to sort of take us up, God forbid, or at least challenge in the playoffs. So at the minute, I don't see any reason to start looking around for new managers. That's what the summer's for. I know that Lawrence has been talking to Meaksy, as he alluded to in his interview, but look, there's no need to do anything drastic. The players are sort of doing Meaks's talking for him, almost, in the way that we've conducted ourselves over the last month.
It's interesting. Last night's game was the Weymouth manager, Bobby Wilkinson. Don't read anything into that, because Weymouth have got Hampton later this month, so that's all he was checking on there. We believe a club has approached Kings Langley to ask about Jordan Parks. Don't know what came of that. But have we got a fans forum coming up later this month? And one of the speakers is John Meakes, which seems to suggest all these people are applying for the job, you might as well forget it, because John's going to be in situ through the rest of the month, by the sound of it.
Yeah, Alan Dowson was also there last night, wasn't he? But of course, worth mentioning, he's former Hampton manager, so maybe he just wanted something to do on a Tuesday night. And yeah, Neil, the article in the Heart-Sad that came out quite late last night, I think much to the surprise of everyone that woke up this morning. I think the key quote from it is where Meakes talks about, we just want to keep the continuity. There's no rush. And at the moment, the boys are comfortable. And I think that's the key. Think of the players, think of the game plan, think of the tactics. Meakes, I've found his post-match interviews quite insightful and quite a lot of information. And let's be honest, a bit more information tactically than we had with David Noble. But I think in all of them, he's emphasised how he's not had to change much in the last week and a half. Lads are now drilled into this plan. They understand what to do. There's no need to change it. And for me, that feeds into keeping Meaksy and Harry Wheeler. And I don't think I ever would have said that about those two given a week and a half ago. But it's going really, really well. They're doing a brilliant job. I think as well, the fans are on board of it. The fans are backing it. The fans are loving it at the minute. The players seem to be loving it as well. And if the players are happy, why change things? And as Lee says, we can reassess it in the summer. Of course, if we now lose our next three, we'll be on here, won't we? All three of us going, get him out, change everything. But, things are looking pretty good at the minute. And it would almost, I think, upset the boat too much if we suddenly brought in a new face.
Any idea who did the interview last night? Because it was either Luke or Matt, because the questioning was much better, sorry, Will, than we've had for much of the season, which makes it easier for the manager to express himself as well. But there were some decent questions in there, which is good. David Noble, you may have heard of him. He left us recently. One of the interviews in the papers, Will Stone said, we're sorting out a financial compensation package with St Albans. We wonder how true that was, because apparently he wasn't under contract at the club. The club never sent his contract in. It wasn't signed. There were issues with it. And so he was working without a contract at the Clarence Park, even though we were told he'd got, what was it, a year and a half or whatever.
Issues with it. Who's told you this? Is it issues with spelling? Issues with grammar? What is the problem?
It didn't go into it, but it got confirmed by another source in the club. So, no, he wasn't under contract.
And Dave takes a little sip of water. This is why he was so positive throughout the rest of the podcast.
Yeah,
he's done this.
He was leaving that
right
to the end. That bombshell.
Yeah. Well, I think Wildstone, didn't they say in their piece that they'd agreed compensation, didn't they, as well? So we'll see.
Yeah, probably
we'll
laughing behind their hands, Jake. Anyway, there we go. We didn't mention, yes, we have a loan signing. We've done a Hampton game. We didn't mention Aidan Francis Clark's return to the club, did we? Or did you? Yes, you did.
Yeah, Jake mentioned it.
Did mention his return,
performance.
No. What did you think of it, Dave?
That's typical Aidan Francis Clark, wasn't it? Slipped straight back in there. Once it looked like he got beaten, and he got his legs round the bloke and got in a great tackle and got the ball away. And
Yes.
I love things like that. Yeah, it's good to see him back in Saints colours, because we all love having loan players, don't we?
And I think, Lee, you would agree with this. It's good to see someone come in that I think clearly wanted to come back to the club. Despite everything going on, those are the sort of players you want out there playing for the team. And he came in early doors, and I think he's done a good job last night, and hopefully he can build on it and play like he did last season for us.
Yeah, there's no coincidence of the fact that Luton see us now as a really good stepping stone for their younger players. We play attractive football. We get it down on the green. We use our style, and they can learn from us. And there's no doubt that Aidan Francis Clark has gone back to Rob Edwards and say, "Look, I really liked it there. If there's a chance for me to sort of go back, it'll be great." And now he's brought more, with him. And obviously now we're going to have a chance to see many more Luton stars over the next sort of a few weeks, because they're bringing their under-23s to Clarence Park as well. So it's a good little relationship, but it's a good environment. What we're building here now is a platform for young professionals to really engage and really step up their education about football. And you know what? If they're here for 1 month, or they're 3 months, or 6 months, or for a season, they're going to benefit the side. I think that's really important to understand. You talk about their tabs, Aidan Francis Clark seamlessly just fitting right back into his position. That's what we need. We want quality players coming here now. We don't want journeymen who are sort of coming down to pick up a few quid. We don't want, if we can help it, reaching to the lower echelons of the non-league game to sort of try and find those diamonds in the rough. If that comes off, great. But we want to be looking now all around us at the pro game, because we got to set our stars high. We've got to set our sights high, and if we can attract the players of the caliber of Berger, Francis Clark, and the like, then we're going to get ourselves a really good name about developing these young players, and that's only going to set us in good stead going forward as well.
It's just like this time last year, isn't it? Luton sending players out everywhere. Got loads of players everywhere. The other local clubs have picked them up as well, not just us. But you say about the players enjoying it. It's like George Hoddle, Cambridge United. They suggested they wanted him back, but he's enjoying it here so much. So, and first team football, men's football, it's got to be a step up from the under 21s or whatever it is, under 23s at Cambridge. And he's developing and coming on, isn't he? And as you say, that's what you hope we can do with these other loan players, help their careers. And then come the summer, we're looking for 18 new players again.
Goodness sake, Dave. Well, just had to read it all there. Oh, well, on that somewhat positive note, I guess we better come to a conclusion on this week's episode. I do want to mention Saints City Trust, as Dave sort of hinted at, fans forum on Thursday, the 22nd of Feb. Get it in your diaries. Go on the Saints City Trust social media as well. If you can't go, or even if you can go, submit a question on there, and we'll endeavour to ask the question on the evening. But if you want to go in person, ask a question as well, can do, of course.
Pitchforks at the ready.
Look on the
tin hats, tabs, me and you there, buddy.
So have a look on the Trust socials for all the information. And on that, I think we'll come to an end for this week's episode. Podful Saints on Twitter, email description below, and we will speak to you again next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Come on, you Saints.